Maexxna is a giant spider.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Haas and this is another look at Hearthstone Curse of Naxxramas. Earlier, I did an overview video for the entire Arachnid Quarter, and once you've made your way through the relatively easy normal bosses in the Arachnid Quarter of Naxxramas, you'll unlock the heroic versions, which are significantly tougher. Now, tons of decks will work in these encounters, but many of those are quite expensive and use rare or legendary cards. Naturally, a card like Alexstrasza is incredibly strong here, as every heroic boss has 45 health and Alexstrasza basically does 30 damage because of that, but these aren't cards everyone has and can be expensive to get. So, whether you're looking for a cheap deck or just want to try something else, here's 3 free-to-play or budget decks with which you are guaranteed to clear the heroic Arachnid Quarter without having to invest time or money into expensive cards. These decks only use common cards or free cards. First up is Heroic Anub'Rekhan. In the heroic mode, his hero power is significantly better and allows him to spend 2 mana every turn to get a lovely 4 attack, 4 health Nerubian minion. As you always go first in this mode, he can even use the coin to start flooding the board with a 4/4 minion from turn 1 and onwards, and will likely do so. To counter this, we can use a budget ramp druid deck. Now the main goal here is to quickly get out big creatures, often with taunt, forcing Anub'Rekhan to trade inefficiently with our stronger creatures while we just mainly swing directly into his face. Cards like Innervate and Wild Growth will be used to speed up our mana gain, the main reason this deck is called a ramp druid to begin with, allowing us to play efficient creatures such as the Chillwind Yeti, the Sentient Shieldmaster, Druid of the Claw, Boulderfist Ogre, Lord of the Arena, Windfury Harpy and Ironbark Protector. Most of these can trade with a 4/4 Nerubian and live, with the exception of the Sentient Shieldmaster as it only has 3 attack but is otherwise just an excellent taunt minion. And again, we mainly want him to trade with us while we keep attacking him directly. If you do want to make the deck a bit better though, but also a bit more expensive, then Sunwalker is a fantastic card in this fight with this deck. Again though, it's a rare card, so we're not using it. Harvest Golem and Scarlet Crusader are cheaper minions and help balance out our deck, while still being able to survive a hit from a 4/4 Nerubian. We also run 3 types of removal spells, Swipe being the most obvious one, as it of course does exactly 4 damage to one target, but we're also using Naturalize. The reason Naturalize is used here is because we don't really care that much about Anub'Rekhan getting more cards. His most efficient minions simply are the 4/4 Nerubians, and so a well-placed Naturalize can quickly remove a threat and give us board control. Wrath doesn't remove a 4/4 Nerubian on its own, but can still be useful together with our hero ability, or is most often used to cycle into a new card. It will still be useful as a removal spell though, in combination with Scarlet Crusader, Harvest Golem, or maybe Sen'jin. Now when fighting Anub'Rekhan, we want to mulligan practically everything that isn't Innervate or Wild Growth. Without these cards we can't really play any big creatures quickly, and either way, we're likely to take a lot of early game damage. Anub'Rekhan himself will, generally speaking, either coin out a 4/4 Nerubian turn 1 or play a 2/3 Death Charger for 1 mana, which, as the name would indicate, has charge. Basically, early game we're trying to stop Anub'Rekhan from doing damage in an efficient way, which is why I use Innervate here to get out a 4/6 Druid of the Claw, which will trade with both of his minions. We're just trying to stop the bleeding. He follows this up by playing a Shade of Naxxramas, a card that gains +1 attack and health every turn and starts stealthed, so our newly drawn Sentient Shieldmaster does the perfect amount of damage if Anub'Rekhan attacks us with his soon-to-be 3/3. Again, attacking him directly is often our only goal, as we're the ones that focus on big taunt minions. But with that being said, he does have some taunt creatures of his own. Abominations, the 4/4 creatures that deal 2 damage to the entire board and both players when they die, and Deathlords, 2/8 minions with a negative death rattle for him, as it summons a random minion from our deck, and as we focus on a lot of big creatures, it often pays off quite well for us when we take these out. The worst we can get is basically a Harvest Golem, Scarlet Crusader or Druid of the Claw, as the Druid becomes a 4/4 without any properties. Then, finally, another threat to watch out for are his Locust Swarm cards, which cost 7 mana and deal 3 damage to our board. He has 3 of these, so it's often better to trade minions when it is about to become his turn 7. In addition to that, he has a few removal spells such as Frostbolts, Shadow Bolts, and 1 Shadow Flame. The rest of his cards are more or less meaningless against our deck, so as long as you can get out big creatures that he has to trade inefficiently with, you should be golden, and you'll beat Anub'Rekhan with this incredibly cheap Druid deck. Moving on to boss number 2, Heroic Grand Widow Faerlina. In Heroic mode, her hero ability becomes a 1 mana arcane missiles based on the number of cards in your hand as opposed to 2 mana. You can approach this in quite a few different ways, but one amusing and most efficient way I figured out was utilizing an Enrage Warrior. With this deck against Faerlina, I have at least an 80% win rate. If, again, you want to go a bit more expensive, put in some Frothing Berserkers, which are rare cards and therefore not in this deck, but are amazing in this matchup. What we do have is a lot of cheap cards that benefit from being hit. Amani Berserker and Raging Worgen can do fantastic amounts of damage simply by being hit by a random Rain of Fire attack. Nerubian Egg is a great card that synergizes well with the rest of our deck, and again, turns our hero ability in our favor. It is a rare card, yes, but you get this for free by doing normal mode anyway. Cruel Taskmasters are there for the synergy, or sometimes the 1 damage on enemies. Kor'kron Elites trade really well with one of the strongest minions Faerlina has, her 2/4 Worshipper cards, and Gurubashi Berserkers are basically our strongest creatures that can get incredibly powerful due to her hero ability. Finally, Haunted Creeper is simply a really good 2-drop, and Acolyte of Pain is basically used to refill our hand should we need it. Spells wise, we're using Inner Rage mainly for enabling our minions, Execute to take care of her stuff, Whirlwind combines well with the rest of her deck, Heroic Strike is a great way to kill the worshippers, and Rampage again works really well with the rest of our deck, as we're planning on getting hit a lot. Shield Block then is there to help us recover from her big early damage output. And finally, 2 Fiery War Axes for removal, as they are simply amazing. Against Faerlina, we want to mulligan into early game minions such as Haunted Creepers, Amani Berserkers, or best case scenario, we get a Nerubian Egg and a way to enable it such as Inner Rage. Fiery War Axe is also a really good card to keep. Turn 1, she is likely to play a 2/3 Death Charger, which Anub'Rekhan also might have, or simply hit us with her hero ability. Be careful of playing a 3 health minion such as Amani Berserker when it's her 2nd or 3rd turn, because she can then play her first Worshipper, which gives Faerlina herself 3 attack that turn, allowing her to instantly kill our 3 health minion. These are basically the biggest threat, as the Worshipper abilities stack, and she has a lot of them. Beyond that, she is more or less a warrior, with a few warlock tricks using cards such as Inner Rage, Rampage, Battle Rage, and Hellfire for removal. A lot of rage. So be careful to leave wounded creatures on her board, because she can easily make those a lot stronger with Rampage, or get card draw off of them with Battle Rage. Minions wise, again, her worshippers are the biggest threats, and you'll want to remove them immediately, but she also uses Dark Cultists, very efficient 3/4 minions, Dancing Swords, which are 4/4 minions that give us a card when they die, Nerubian Eggs, and Necro Knights, which are 5/6 minions for 4 mana that destroy adjacent minions when they die, allowing us to use them as removal with a good Execute or what have you. Control the board with good trading, turn her hero ability against her with our minions, and you'll defeat Heroic Faerlina in no time. And finally, the third boss, Heroic Maexxna. Heroic Maexxna has a very interesting gimmick. Her hero ability in Heroic mode costs 0 mana and is automatically activated at the beginning of her turn, so it activates every single time. It then takes 2 random minions from your board and returns them to your hand. Again, there's many strategies you can use here, but what we're going to use is basically a deck that makes it impossible for us to lose unless we draw poorly. This budget paladin deck centers around healing. Crucial here are cards like Voodoo Doctor, Earthen Ring Farseer, and most importantly Guardian of Kings, which is why we're a paladin in the first place. Our approach to this fight will be flooding her board with 1 attack minions, and as Maexxna has no direct damage or buff capabilities, this then makes her total damage output 7 every turn. In an almost perfect scenario, it can actually get better if she plays some 0 damage Nerubian Eggs. Because her hero ability will give us back whichever 2 minions we play, we can out-heal this damage by alternating with Guardian of Kings and Voodoo Doctors, or Earthen Ring Farseers, and Guardian of Kings and Wolf Riders, or our weaker charge minions such as Stone Tusk Boars or Bluegill Warriors, making it so that we do damage to her while healing up everything she does the turn thereafter. Other crucial cards are Consecration, which will allow us to flood her board with 1 attack minions, as Maexxna starts with 2 Haunted Creepers and is likely to play a lot more, and Humility, to take care of any big creatures she might play before we can lock down her board. She does use cards such as Sea Giant, but if we can get these down to 1 attack with Humility, that'll be no problem whatsoever. Everything else in here basically does the same thing or works towards our goal. Blessing of Wisdom, Hammer of Wrath, and Novice Engineers are there to help us get cards quickly, and every spell and True Silver Champion helps us survive while also preventing us from getting a full hand too quickly. If we don't have what we need yet and we're approaching the 10 hand size limit, it's worth using a Blessing of Might randomly, or maybe even kill our own minion with an Elven Archer. And essentially, that is the entire gimmicky fight. Early game, mulligan for board clear and then clear the 2 Haunted Creepers or more with the Consecration and lock down our board with 1 attack minions. Meanwhile, keep yourself alive with Voodoo Doctors, Holy Lights or Earthen Ring Farseers, and once you have all the cards you need, that being 1 Guardian of Kings, 1 Wolf Rider ideally, but weaker minions work, and 1 Voodoo Doctor or Farseer, while her board is completely locked down, you are at a point where she can't at all win anymore. And that right there is how to defeat the entire heroic Arachnid Quarter with incredibly cheap, free-to-play budget decks. Thank you for watching, my name has been Haas and I'll see you in the next video.